Hello, this is Thogdad. Now, my son Theo and I travel all over England and Scotland visiting football grounds, and often they are modern continental grounds like the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or the Emirates. But more interestingly are the old school traditional grounds such as Fratton Park or Craven Cottage. And when we're doing our research, one name comes up again and again, the Scottish architect Archibald Leitch. Now, Leitch was born in Glasgow in 1865 when Queen Victoria was still on the throne, and he died in London in 1939, a virtual unknown. And when he died, no newspaper wrote an obituary. But this is a man who had as much influence on the beautiful game as famous Scots people such as Sir Matt Busby and Sir Alex Ferguson. Engineering Archie should be a household name in football. Now, Leitch started his career designing tea factories in Sri Lanka, and he moved on to designing and engineering factories and industrial workplaces in Scotland and England. His only surviving non-football project is the Sentinel Works in Glasgow, which is in a terrible state. And his life changed in 1899 when he was approached by his boyhood football club, Glasgow Rangers. They asked him to design Ibrox, and Archibald Leitch's life changed forever. By the 1920s, Leitch had designed 16 of the 22 grounds of the old First Division. This is the godfather of the traditional football ground in the United Kingdom. Now, the football historian Simon Inglis wrote a book about Archibald Leitch called Engineering Archie. In it, he identified three qualities that led to the success of the architect. Firstly, he built functional structures quickly and cheaply because of his background as a factory architect. Secondly, he was a great salesman who loved the game of football, and being a Freemason probably helped him get through a few doors. And thirdly, none of the other architects were actually doing football work, so he spotted a gap in the market and plugged it. In other words, Archibald Leitch was the right man at the right time in the right place. Now, football was becoming increasingly popular at this time. The working classes and the middle classes had a little bit more of this in their pockets, and they wanted to go to the game and have a good experience. And the bosses of football teams, they wanted more permanent structures. They wanted to maximize the number of people coming through the turnstiles and putting revenue into their pockets. Now, before Leitch came along, a football ground was essentially a grassy pitch with a bit of a gravel bank round it. There were no permanent structures and basically no facilities to speak of. All of Leitch's designs differed in subtle ways, but there are many common themes that we can pick on. Firstly, Leitch created what we now know as the football stand. These were two-level, i.e. two-tier affairs with steel balustrades coming down from the upper tier. Secondly, there was a pitched roof that covered the stand, and this often had a distinctive triangular pediment. The other three sides to the ground were often open terrace, but as clubs became richer, they would often have four stands, one on each corner of the ground. And where there was open terracing, there were crush barriers, because Leitch took health and safety very seriously. Sadly, there was a disaster at Ibrox Stadium in 1902. 25 people were killed and over 500 injured when wooden stands collapsed during a game between England and Scotland. And this led Leitch to really think harder about his future designs and incorporate more and more safety features. Sadly, today there's only 5 Leitch stands remaining in the United Kingdom. Firstly, Ibrox, Glasgow Rangers with its Bill Struth main stand facade. This has a factory-like quality with its red bricks, and in my opinion is one of the most important architectural structures in the whole of the United Kingdom. Secondly, Craven Cottage, Fulham, with its iconic main stand and pavilion. Thirdly, Fratton Park, Portsmouth, with its amazing south stand. Fourthly, Goodison Park, Everton, which sadly will be bulldozed in the nearest future. And finally, Dens Park, Dundee, which Theo and I were lucky enough to visit recently to see the Dundee derby. The Taylor Report and the move to all-seater stadiums sadly led to the demolition of many of Leitch's finest works. I mean, it's understandable for health and safety reasons, but many of Leitch's masterpieces have gone forever. There's also been a trend recently towards more continental and modern designs. But back in the day, Leitch was involved with the design and building of many of Scotland's best stadiums. Here are some of them. In London, Leitch was a designer and architect on the following grounds amongst others. Elsewhere in England, Leitch was involved with some iconic footballing projects. So let's all spread the name of Archibald Leitch. This is a man who's an icon of the game, and his name should be a household name to all footballing fans. This is Thogdad. See ya.